Ahmose, boy king and predecessor of the popular Nubian-centric 18th dynasty. Ahmose is known for his unifying of all of Egypt and expelling out Asiatic rulers. The Asiatic Heka Kasut came into North Africa around early 1700 BCE. They were friendly and followed the status quo initially. However, once Pharaoh died with no clear successor to take over and rule, that left Egypt vulnerable for chaos. This chaos would eventually bring about the Second Intermediate Period, which caused an all-out war to break out. The Heka Kasut went on to seize full control over Lower Egypt, near the Levant and Mediterranean Sea. With the growing numbers of back migrants who were populating Lower Egypt, an Asiatic takeover was bound to occur. Ahmose was the son of King Tao II Sekenenra, who was ruling on behalf of the southern Egypt, where the creators of Egyptian kingship reside. Ahmose was the younger brother of Ahmose, who was the last king of the 17th dynasty. During the reign of Ahmose's father or grandfather, Thebes rebelled against the foreign rulers of Lower Egypt. When Ahmose was 7 years old, his father was killed in battle. It is said that the damage to the mummy of Tao suggests that he met his dreadful demise in battle, where he was victim to an axe to the face at the hand of foreigners. When Ahmose was about 10 years old, his older brother Ahmose also met his demise due to unknown causes after reigning for a brief 3 years. Ahmose then assumed the throne around the age of 10, after the death of his brother. Upon coronation, Ahmose became known as Neb-Peti-Ra, the Lord of Strength is Ra. Ahmose was still a boy and unable to rule and make decisions, so his mother served as regent until he had come of age. As a child, he would go through extensive combat training to prepare himself to finish what his father and brother started. Around 1539 BCE, Ahmose was finally successful in reunifying all of Egypt and restoring Theban rule over the whole of Egypt, also successfully reasserting Egyptian power in its former subject territories, in Nubia and western Eurasia. Ahmose would launch military campaigns against Canaan and Syria, to ensure Asiatics would not regroup and attack again. Some inhabitants in Nubia made an alliance with Asiatic rulers and conspired against Egypt, so they had to be subdued. Ahmose would also reward various rulers in Nubia who sided with him and were supportive in his efforts to reclaim northern Egypt. The population in Lower Nubia and Upper Egypt shared many affinities. The Green Sahara gave birth to many of the African people groups who would go on to develop kingdoms all across the continent. Prior to the desertification process of North and Central Africa, groups such as Proto-West Africans, Proto-Libyans, Proto-Egyptians, and more. A group of people given the exonym the Afar were also included in the inhabitants of the Green Sahara and were responsible for the advent of cattle pastoralism. The Egyptians implemented a considerable amount of pastoralic customs in their spiritual teachings as well as in their pharaonic symbolism. This is one of the many reasons the Afar men are linked to being descendants of some of the ancient Egyptians' pharaoh. Examining the military depictions, paintings, statues, hairstyles, along with a number of other primary attestations, there's no way to deny the ancient Egyptians being the predecessors of the Afar, as well as other African groups such as the Hamar tribe. The Hamar people are a community of cattle pastoralists inhabiting southwestern region of modern-day Ethiopia. The Hamar are known for their unique custom of bull jumping, which is performed by young men crossing into manhood. Due to their likeness being attested all over ancient Egyptian and Nubian artifacts, I strongly believe that the Hamar were one of the many different ethnic groups that inhabited parts of Egypt and Nubia in antiquity. Not only their likeness, but aspects of their material culture such as ostrich feathers can be linked to their connection to ancient Nile Valley cultures. Married women of the Hamar people also wear their hair in a braided bob style that we see worn in ancient Nubia as well as Egypt. Wigs that were found in the tombs of royalty were also specifically fashioned to mimic the hairstyle of the Hamar. The hairstyles of ancient Egyptian royalty were Nubian-like. The leaders of ancient Egypt wanted to stylize their hair identical to the surrounding Africans, particularly those south of them. The material culture found in the Napatan region situated in Nubia proper is indicative of cultural diffusion and/or borrowing on behalf of what would later become the Empire of Egypt. The early inhabitants of pre-dynastic Napata can be deemed responsible for the culmination of Nile Valley theology. A sacred mountain located in Napata has the natural rock formation of a royal uraeus wearing the white crown of Egypt, given the inclination that the concept of the Upper Egyptian crown itself can be credited to a sacred rock formation in Nubia proper. This primary occurrence gives support to the Upper Egyptians and Lower Nubians, being closely related, and would often adopt aspects from each other's culture. The chief god Amun is also said to have come from the Napatan region, with his home being revered as the Pure Mountain. This sacred mountain was also held in high regard by the Egyptian pharaohs, who, during the previously mentioned 18th dynasty, made their way down to Nubia to build temples and denoted the Pure Mountain as the source of their pharaonic power. The kings of Kush were fully aware of Egyptian kingship being birthed in their ancestral lands, prior to being spread northwards. For this reason, pharaohs from the 25th dynasty, such as Taharqa, saw themselves as liberators and right heirs to the throne. So when Egypt was in shambles due to foreign rulership in Lower Egypt, it took for the kings of the southern regions to come up from the Nubian region to revive and restore Egypt, as the sons of Amun and rightful owners of the throne. Again, given credence to the northern Nubian and southern Egyptian cultural diffusions.